Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Uncuckables for another week. The show where, well, we've become known for particularly, we thought the XYZ had died today, their satire predicting the future, but all of us here have been misfortune tellers, just through either satire or exaggeration, because, well, it's September 2020, and of course, myself, Tim Wilms from the Unshackled, and David Hiscox, formerly of the XYZ. We're in lockdown Melbourne still. We've got Reg Penney joining us from semi-free New
How you
South
going, guys?
Wales. You're allowed to dance at weddings now today. Gladys said it was okay.
Yeah, around about 10 and 20 people are allowed to be on the dance floor and all that now,
Yeah. And
which is like, oh, okay.
Will it be like the Republic of Iran, where they still mandate that you have to stay away from each other?
Well, you have to say 1.5 social distance, but it looks like everyone doesn't give a damn about the 1.5 anymore.
They're going to need some morality police.
Yeah.
Don't you have those COVID safe marshals now in New South Wales?
Oh, yes, and pubs and clubs, they do. They have around about one or two of them.
And also singing is allowed in groups of 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just saw the article and I just watched Gladys make an announcement and all that. Like, yeah, okay.
Have these people ever seen Fraggle Rock? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, the cases is going up and down in the moment. It's like blooming yo-yo, and now that's gone a bit low.
Does that mean there's going to be another Spice Girls reunion?
If there's going to be a Spice Girls reunion, Victoria won't be in the reunion at all.
Yeah, Victoria always screws things up for everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, stop trying to make me lobby to continue the lockdown. I think I'm one of the only people who's just been loving it. If we can keep that from happening, then just keep it going, guys.
And we've got Stephen Wells from the current autonomous state of Western Australia, where even though you've had, no community cases for how many months now, you're still at phase 4 with the 2 metre rule.
Are we still at a 2 metre rule thing? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I thought
2 square metre rule.
I mean, I just thought that Coles and Woolworths had just didn't want to take the stickers off in case they had to put them back down again. I didn't actually realise that we were still enforcing it over here.
Oh, you still got all the dots there.
Yeah, we've still got all the plastic screens up, and you go, and every time you want to talk to a cashier, you lean around it and cough on them.
Do you guys make a point of like never standing on the dot?
I make a point of standing uncomfortably close to everybody in the shops.
Yeah, good. When I've been walking around,
I did that even before COVID.
I always like to cover my face. It's for coronavirus. So, I'm walking.
Every time there's somebody on the getting checked out, I try and do a Joe Biden on them.
When I've been walking down the street, like I'm wearing my scarf, and so it just has a way of slipping down, and I see people like they'll come towards me and they'll deliberately cross the street. They see me coming, and if they don't kind of notice in time, like I see the look of fear on their eyes as they go past and make a wide berth. It's amazing.
Maybe they think you look like the state treasurer Tim Pallas, who has the same.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah, Uncle Fester, as he's known. Although your face yet, Dave, isn't as saggy as his yet.
Oh!
I often feel like saying to people as they do make a wide berth, "You are right to fear me."
And now, as always, we're live on the Uncuckables YouTube and DLive channel, and we're finally on Entropy, which is the enhanced software, which I'm putting the link in both the live chats. You can ask a question of the panel or send through a super chat. We finally thought of a good poll question today because the XYZ website, well, it died today but came back to life tonight. So who took down the XYZ website? Was it Boomer Tech Dave? Was it Asio? Was it Mossad? Was it Dan Andrews? Or was it an inside job by the Unshackled?
I'm actually convinced that the only thing keeping me out of a prison cell somewhere in the Negev is my own incompetence. So, yeah, I'm saying nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that's why Dan's expanding the prisons. Make room for you.
Yeah.
Which, of course, was...
it's better not make concentration camp like China did over out west.
Yeah,
that'll be worse.
Yeah, that got broken today about China. How many people in China's concentration camps?
Well,
how many people are in there?
Around about from 80 to 100,000.
Are they all Muslim or are they political dissidents?
No, they're not just Muslims. It's just like everyone, Christian and like Buddha, nearly everything.
Yeah, they're Tibetans.
Goes against China.
Yeah,
and Tibetans as well. I mean, if you pose the CCP, get sent off to a re-education camp.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's a lot more too. Like it's one of the things I found interesting when we had David. What was this? The China expert, Dave Lee. Dave Lee, yeah. And he was talking about how it's believed that there could be another this extra 300 million Chinese people than they actually have accounted for. So we could just be talking a very conservative estimate when we talk that. Like, how many did you say? 80 to 100,000 people in a prison camp.
Yeah, I brought up an article. This is the ABC. China's still building detention camps in Xinjiang, and they're getting even bigger. So this is an aerial shot there of one of the high security facilities. A germ of truth in China's claim. So this is a low security one here. I wonder if it has a swimming pool and an orchestra.
Don't forget the roller coaster of death.
Roller coaster as well.
Yeah.
This is apparently the classrooms. That's some of the fencing there. That's the watchtower there. This is a 3D of a newly built one.
Yeah.
I
see that. I'm watching YouTube. So I'm doing live streaming and then just put that on YouTube on my TV and all that.
Yeah, which is
so
obviously...
I can see the article from here.
Which is obviously, this is Dan Andrews' inspiration for the expansion of Victoria's prisons. Well, that's one of the conclusions that you can draw. And we're
not just being sarcastic about that. Like, you look at the CNN article, which is written in praise of Daniel Andrews recently, and they drew the link to the Chinese lockdown. They said, China was the first country to really do a strong lockdown really successfully, and now Daniel Andrews has done it. So the media are making a point of praising how Victoria has gone about the lockdown so that they can do that there in the northern winter.
It goes back to the 2011 lockstep simulation by the Rockefeller Institute, which basically set out how the world would react to a global pandemic. And one of the interesting things in there, it talks about how China gets over the pandemic faster than everybody else because they can react in a much more autonomous way, and democracy doesn't get in the way. And then it talks about how there is resistance among Western nations to the necessary steps to get things under control. So that's if anybody hasn't actually looked at that document yet, I wholeheartedly recommend you go and have a read through it. There's a whole lot of various simulations that they do, and lockstep is just one of the things that they're looking forward to.
It's like we've all been primed. So it's interesting. Like, not only was there that simulation done, was it last year or the year before? But like this is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that they planned it a good decade, at least a good decade ago.
Yeah, well, it goes back even further. So you go back to 2005, and there was an international agreement signed. America signed, came on board most importantly, but it was a global agreement basically giving the World Health Organization the power to basically coordinate a response to a pandemic. So that was back in 2005 that deal was signed. But from 2005 up until, well, literally up until it's happened, various states within the United States, pretty much all Democrat-run ones first, went first on it, obviously, basically signed into law legislation which basically circumvented the Constitution and allowed them to do all the things that they've done in this COVID thing. And obviously we had 2015 was the latest update to the Emergency Health Powers Act, which again allowed our country to circumvent our Constitution.
Stop talking about constitutional rights. You're a tinfoil hat, batshit crazy, sovereign citizen, conspiracy theorist. What is this Constitution you talk about?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's been coordinated. I mean, for people who say that there is no conspiracy, they've been planning for a pandemic ever since. Well, you can go back to the anthrax attacks in 2001 after the September 11th thing, where they first started talking about the need for a coordinated response if there was a bioterrorism event. That then came into a pandemic event. And so you can go all the way back to basically the original conspiracy theorists that's got us all woke in the first place, to where it all goes back to.
Yeah, it's also interesting when you look at the way that Hollywood has been priming us for what's going on at the moment. Like you can look at zombie films, I Am Legend. You can look at the remake of Planet of the Apes. I know Contagion, Devon Stack of Blackpilled has done a pretty good job deconstructing Contagion and how it's pretty much predicted everything that's happened. He's come out with a new video. I think it's called The Future is Black, or The Future is Female, or The Future is a Black Female, something like that. He dissects the movie Children of Men. And aside from all the just overt mass immigration propaganda, there's like a sort of throwaway bit about how the main character's son died in the big flu pandemic a few years earlier. Yeah. They've been priming us.
I rewatched V for Vendetta last Friday night, and I know
how disgusting is Natalie Portman in that. Like when she shaves her head, she is ugly. And get this, she shaves her head halfway through the movie, and then like 6 months go past in the movie, but her hair doesn't grow back. What's with that?
Oh, well, that didn't fascinate me that much, but
I'm just deliberately trying to.
It's written by they were then the Wachowski brothers. Now they're the Wachowski sisters because they both transitioned to females now. But the way, because this was made in 2005, that's when the progressive left actually cared about human rights and were against real fascism. So Hugo Weaving characters V, who wears the Guy Fawkes mask. It's a right-wing authoritarian government that is fighting against the Nordstrom party, who manufacture the St. Mary's virus, and that's how they get into power. And of course this party is against Jews, Muslims, and homosexuals. And one of the faces of they don't have the BBC, they have a British television network. The main pundit of that has an uncanny resemblance to Nick Griffin, who was the leader of the British National Party at the time.
Isn't it amazing how totalitarianism is always right-wing?
Only in movies.
In movies, yeah. Well, no, totalitarianism is always right-wing, Tim. You know, we're talking about batshit crazy conspiracy theorists. It's always right-wing. We know this now, don't we?
Yeah. Because apparently we learnt this week that ASIO, they spend 40% of their time on far-right groups now.
they surely, like, they'd be...
They have to make up one arrest.
They're a bunch of puppets.
If they're going to spend that much money, like, please, just try to buy us off. You'll save money.
Yeah.
They should go after the real threat. The CCP, like morons are trying to inflate the political system in this country, and the extreme left that's been like recruiting people and turning into homegrown terror groups and all that.
Well, it begs the question then, like, how much influence does the extreme left and the CCP already have on an organisation like ASIO?
A lot. It's happening in University of New South Wales. I mean, it's CCP turf, and now it's University of Sydney, and it's simple. It's just like it's getting really bigger and bigger than ever. And it's if ASIO doesn't get off its ass and start like taking on the real threat, then they just made themselves look like fools.
I would say they're probably bought and paid for the same as the university people. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 40% of their budget, dead set. Like,
oh, I think it's their time. So they'll obviously be watching now. You mentioned they should buy us off. Can ASIO send through some super chats?
Yeah. Hold on, everybody, let's say hello to ASIO. Sieg Heil, ASIO! Sieg Heil!
We do have Daniel Andrews regularly commenting in our live chat. So wasn't he in what is it, Maddie's stream on Sunday night? And he's actually sent through some super chats as well.
Yeah, we've also had Devere, one of our greatest fans. It's been lovely to have them both. Maddie actually made a great point today in a piece that he's written for the XYZ. It's called The Attack of the Super Extreme Far Right, Super Mega Extreme Far Right, or something like that.
The Unshackled, we got called far right in The Guardian, which is an extremely moderate, low-level insult, smear.
You didn't have any extremes attached to it. Yeah, you'll have to try harder to.
Yeah, Joseph Stalin gets called far right in The Guardian. I mean, yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
So in this piece, Maddie's pointed out, so like the geniuses, they've tried to draw a link between the Australian far right and ISIL or ISIS or IS, whatever you want to call them. They've said, oh look, so the Islamic State, they recruited a lot of their people over the internet, and the extreme far right extremists here in Australia are recruiting people over the internet. The extreme far right are just like ISIS.
They're using the internet.
Dead set. Like I know some of these people. Like it was a career path I was looking into after university. I studied politics.
ASIO?
I studied history. Yeah, I could have done.
Or far right extremist.
Like these people are retarded. Like, who are the geniuses who are getting like six-figure sums to come up with this nonsense? Come on, guys, try harder. Try harder. All we're talking about is getting fit and having big white families. That's all we're doing.
It's illegal to get fit in Victoria at the moment.
You've got to try a bit harder than that, guys. Earn your money. Come on.
But don't Antifa and Extinction Rebellion, don't they recruit through the internet as well?
Well, that's the logic of it too. Yeah.
Well,
basically Yep.
It's not just internet. They can recruit through uni and TAFE as well.
Oh, so that's okay because it's real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest joke of all, Tim, calling university and TAFE real life.
Oh, well, it was, what is it, ANU, Melbourne University, they've all announced job cuts this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. Oh no.
It happened to a nice bunch of people. I hope the universities go bust. They're basically, like you look at the demographics of who's in like what subjects. You've basically got all foreigners doing business, engineering, maths, science, and you've got all the Aussies doing art. So you've got all the foreigners coming here learning all the important skills that they're going to need to be successful here in Australia, and you've got all the Australians being poisoned against their own country even more than they had been in high school. So we need to just completely destroy the university system. It serves no purpose whatsoever anymore.
That said, we need to destroy university physics as well, because that's basically just teaching people crap anyway. So that's probably on the plus note is Chinese people are going away learning like really bad physics about the atmosphere and stuff. So
it'd be nice for them to go home and lobby against their coal-fired power stations, but big camp out in Western China, huh?
Well, apparently they're going to be carbon neutral by 2060, 30 years after the world ends.
Or at least the Western world ends.
Well, yeah, the Western world ends, yeah.
You know, I saw that headline today, and my initial reaction was to go, like that's easy for them to say, like it's a long way off. They can virtue signal, they don't have to be held accountable. But if there's any country that thinks long term, it's China. I know I'm sort of harping back to that 2011 report where like China is actually able to get things done. But like it's the thing about China, A, they don't have to worry about elections and an electoral cycle. And B, they do actually think in civilizational terms. They think across thousands of years. So 60 years is nothing, 40 years is nothing to them.
Yeah, I mean, what they'll start doing is replacing their coal-fired power stations with nuclear.
Scott Morrison announced this week, well, coal is out. Etsy wants a gas revolution, wants to step on the gas.
Well, he's enough of a windbag to put out gas, isn't he?
What an absolute weak cuck. Like, he should be standing up for coal-fired power stations. He should be pushing the nuclear angle. Like, he's just trying to... Yeah, he's trying to get...
what are you just going, Dave?
I know, you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say, Scott Morrison, I think he should grow a pair of balls and, save, coal power stations and people's jobs. And besides doing gas, lift the ban on nuclear power and start getting everything going and give people more jobs and more opportunities. I mean, fuck the Greens and their heart-bleeding crap over this climate change scam and all that.
But he's in on it. The problem is
nuclear power stations.
The problem is he's in on it. His whole part of, it's like Turnbull was. He's just part of the globalist agenda, and he's like Turnbull. He's infiltrated the Liberal Party, and he's there deliberately to undermine it and to promise to give controlled opposition to people who don't like Labour and Greens, basically.
Well, he's been cucked by the state Labour premiers, Dan Andrews, Anastasia Palaszczuk, and Mark McGowan. Anastasia Palaszczuk has even banned him from entering Queensland unless he does 14 days quarantine. Scott Morrison today finally, he's had some semblance of balls when they're going to pull the ADF from the New South Wales-Queensland border. Because don't forget, all of the border closures and the enforcement of Victoria and Melbourne's lockdown is assisted by the Australian Defence Force, and the hotel quarantine caps, even though under that conspiratorial document, the Australian Constitution, it says that federal government has authority over quarantine. The state governments of Queensland and WA are saying, no, we don't want to take more Australians back. I mean, he's weak as.
He's deliberately weak as. As I said, I mean, you've got to remember that it was Morrison who implemented the state of emergency first.
Yeah, he basically proposed the lockdowns nationwide, and then it was up to the states to enforce it.
To enforce it in their own manner, yeah. But,
and of course, Dan Andrews
Yeah, at the end of the day, Scott Morrison's just an enabler for Labour. He's nothing else, and everything else is just theatre. All of the back and forth about state Labour governments being nasty to Scott Morrison and Scott Morrison having his backup. It's just theatre. At the end of the day, they're all there for the same thing. It's just like with no dictator wants help from another dictator. That's the thing. They all like to do it alone.
They're sort of playing good cop, bad cop, aren't they? Like they're all basically pushing for the same agenda. Scott Morrison is able to look like the good guy, but a little bit weak compared to like all the evil state premiers.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as if people start turning against the premiers, then in will come Scott Morrison with like he's done with like Liberals have done for the past 20 years. They'll come in with a softer, more caring, friendly version of their totalitarianism, and it will be pulled back slightly, and everyone will vote Liberal, and everyone will think, oh, how much more freedom have we got now? Not remembering what they had in 2019.
Yeah. But I'm not forgetting for what they did back in 1996.
The guns.
The guns. Yeah,
the National Firearms
the
Agreement.
Back in a second, I was just going to grab a drink.
It's a fair call to say that John Howard. It's crazy when I think of how I've changed my tune on this. John Howard is one of the greatest traders Australia.
Yeah, he said it was one of his proudest achievements to the National Firearms Agreement.
It's the biggest conservative thing that he ever done from a so-called conservative party that became a bunch of cucks.
Yeah,
and it was within 2 months of him being elected as Prime Minister. And don't forget Tim Fischer, the leader of the National Party at the time, the voice of the bush.
Has cucked himself.
And it's amazing how, basically the far left and the Liberal Party were able to play the whole of Australia because for several decades they painted John Howard as an evil racist who was basically taking all of Pauline Hanson's policies. But he, like the Liberal Party, and he has openly stated that the whole point of stopping the boats was to basically ensure public support for mass immigration.
So there wasn't race riots. That's basically it.
Yeah, because then he oversaw the biggest increase in immigration that Australia's ever had.
And you have to remember his famous statement in 88 suggesting that the rate of Asian immigration be slowed. He said slowed. He didn't say it'd be stopped. He said slowed.
Basically, he was always serving his globalist masters. He had to make sure that Australians still supported mass immigration. They won't let you on the old Book of Faces again, huh?
Well, I heard you're banned from Facebook again, David.
Yeah, I think I've got about 21 days to go. I'm kind of used to it. I just basically try to make as much impact as I can whenever I'm allowed on, and then it's
going to go now, guys. I might head off.
All right, thanks for joining us, Reg.
Nice having you, Reg.
Nice to meet you, Reg.
See you guys later.
Cool.
See you later.
Cheers. Yeah, basically.
Oh, you got to turn the camera off. Yeah, there it goes.
Damn.
I didn't want that. Yeah. I think you got to end the meeting. I don't want any hot mic moments.
Well, he's going to moon us before he left.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried with.
Straight.
Shall we return to the theme of the night? I'll read out basically you don't really brag, it's just more of like, see, I hate being right.
Is this the Gulags one?
Yes, Dictator Dan is expanding his Gulo archipelago. The XYZ satire actively predicted the future that Dan Andrews would strive to put thought criminals in death camps. You did 2 satire articles, one in early August, that's when Stage 4 began, and one on September 16th when when it was made public, this COVID-19 omnibus emergency measures bill, where apparently it's not just public servants who can be appointed authorized officers by DANS, it's any member of the public. So you can basically hire citizen informants like the old Stasi in East Germany.
How convenient. I wonder if you can get them in as riot squad as well. It's
So we have toyed with the...
There's my tinfoil hat again. I'm being batshit crazy.
We have also toyed with the running joke that Daniel Andrews built an exact replica of the Auschwitz death camps at Calder Park Raceway. And this is what we went through last week on the Uncuckables. This was on Daniel Andrews' website on 14th of September. Prison expansion deliver new jobs in Campbellfield. New cells to house 616 prisoners.
Yeah, I thought I'd play with that. It's I do find it intriguing. Nothing is ever an accident.
And it has supporting infrastructure, as we said. For the additional beds will include visitor centre, light industries buildings, and a men's shed. The existing programs and medical building will also be expanded and refurbished, and internal fencing will be built.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. Like, why would you expand the prison system in the middle of the pandemic when I'm pretty sure like we don't have like 15,000 people coming into Melbourne every month or every week, whatever it was, like we did before the lockdown. So when we are not going through a period of growth, why would you be expanding the prison system? It's just a little bit too convenient.
We've just had some breaking news that former Australian cricketer and cricket commentator Dean Jones has died of a heart attack in India. He was only 59, so that's sad news. I remember I first heard of him when he made a politically incorrect joke in 2006 when we referred to, I think it was a South African dark-skinned cricketer who had
I thought it was Shane Warne.
Had a long beard, and he said the terrorist has got another wicket.
All right. Dean Jones was actually my very first favourite cricketer. He was my favourite cricketer. Jones. Because I used to love the way that he would just dance down the pitch and hit the balls back over his head. And I was actually very disappointed. I was bitterly disappointed when he got left out of the Australian cricket team, and I even did an English talk on why Dean Jones should be allowed back into the team. That's really disappointing news. It's great man.
It died so young as well, and it's a non-COVID death. You see, people are still dying from other causes.
No, they're not.
Have you there's the graph? Have you seen the graph where it shows like
the total number of deaths? Yeah, so a guy in Paris.
Have you got it on your Facebook page? Because I'll go and get it now.
I do. It's I can't get on my Facebook page, but maybe you can. You just got to go through all of the. See, I got kicked. I knew I was going to get kicked off because yesterday I was triggered. I saw a Mark McGowan post, and then I started reading the comments, and I just started getting a bit
arguing with people.
Yeah, well, not arguing with people. I just started insulting them. I just went down through about 20 people who were saying you're doing a great job, and I just called them all the names under the sun. And I thought, that's going to get me banned. And sure enough, this morning I woke up and 30-day ban.
I took your advice. Actually, I think it's one of the reasons.
Here it is. Here.
It's why I managed to stay so long on Facebook this time around.
Okay.
Like when lefties were trying to argue with me, or just block them straight away, because they're not there to argue. They're there to bait you and then to
report you.
Yeah. They're masturbators.
Yes. Yeah, here we go.
So have you got that graph up?
Yeah, here it is. Here. So COVID cases. This goes from January this year. Then obviously it hit during March, and it's kept going. But look at the death rate. It's basically, it peaked at around April, but it's basically stayed the same. And deaths from all causes around about the same. But despite this, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, based on increasing cases, which are around 5,000 a day now, not because of increased deaths, he's decided that the UK is going to go into a 6-month lockdown.
Dan Andrews mode, yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, if ever we needed evidence that the major parties were all corrupt and working for the same goals, Boris Johnson, the last bit of illusion after Brexit has now been shattered. I mean, anybody in the know knew that the so-called Brexit that Boris Johnson was delivering was no better than Theresa May's Brexit, but it was just labelled, repackaged and labelled again. But now there should be no doubt that Labour, Conservative, Liberal, Republican, Democrat, makes no difference. Yeah. They're all bought and paid for. Makes you wonder what they've got on, what skeletons are in Boris Johnson's closet.
Well, we know most of his skeletons already.
Well, but like you're really hitting on the heart of the matter here. First, like if we look at the basically the uniformity of policy across the world, it doesn't matter which region they're from, which ethnicity, which side of politics. It seems that every leader of every country is implementing the same policies. The leader of Belarus has come out and basically said that the
IMF,
the IMF and the World Health Organization basically bribed him to lock down his country, introduce extreme measures, and destroy the economy. And he refused, and now he's got a colour revolution on his hands. So that's what's going on. Like if you're wondering why it looks coordinated, it's coordinated. And secondly, like when you're saying you wonder if they've got something on him. The biggest story of the last year is the Jeffrey Epstein story, and like people like, he was running a pedophile ring. He had all these high-profile people. The connection there is that's how you gain power in the world. You let the elite get the dirt on you. That's how you gain access to the elite.
But don't you know that? Don't you know that pedophilia rings are a right-wing conspiracy theory?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, I kind of run a right-wing conspiracy site.
It's funny, I can't remember how, it's years and years ago, probably maybe at least a decade, maybe more, that there was in Belgium, which, if you watch Austin Powers, they're all evil. But the Belgians basically rose up, and there was massive demonstrations about covering up for pedophiles, institutional pedophilia, and that's the heart of the EU was in Belgium. So, but they woke up to it, decades ago, and that story came out because there was hundreds of thousands of people going out there, and I can't remember what triggered it off, but there was some cover up by the officials. And institutional paedophilia was going on, and the Belgians woke up to it, had their moment, and then it all sort of got pushed under the carpet, and everyone went back to their lives again. But it's been bubbling close to the surface for a long time now, and makes you wonder what it's going to take for it to finally come out in the open for everyone, all the normies, to finally go, oh my God, they're doing this,
But what I hope is that they understand why it's done. Like, as I said, the reason it's done is for them to get access, so that the elite can have dirt on them, so that the elite control the leaders. That's why we've got this coordination going on now.
Shall we turn now to, the Unshackled published some satire, which is probably going to be true today. Shall we turn to that now?
Can I just make one more tangent?
All right.
I just want to build on one more thing. So Black Pigeon Speaks came out. He's done a really good rundown of the financial system and how central banks are basically controlling the world. And he's linked to an excellent video. Where are we?
Central banks controlling the world, that's just a conspiracy theory. They're the Reserve Bank of Australia controlling our currency. That's just a conspiracy theory.
Well, yeah, just take it from me. Everything I say is true. He's linked to a video called, I think it's called The Money Masters. It's worth checking out. And if you look at how the Money Masters managed to get the Federal Reserve Bank established, they tried to pass one set of legislation legislation through Congress. There was massive opposition to it, so then they just they changed the name and basically
just
put the same
relabeled it, did exactly the same thing. Yeah, exactly. The main book is, of course, the creature from Jekyll Island is the one to read on that one. But I mean, we're now in a situation. The other thing about globalism is that on what this kind of monetary system does, it means it's very, very difficult for a single country to get out of it, because all of their trade is interlocked with other people. Their pension funds are all tied into these investment companies that invest in the government bonds, which are basically money printed out of thin air and loaned at interest. And so what would normally happen, years ago when you would come across a fraud like this, is basically you would reevaluate you refloat the currency, and all the investors basically lose their money, and you just start again, because at the end of the day, the government can basically say, okay, well, yeah, we owe you $100 billion. Sure, we'll print it for you. There you go. And inflation goes through the roof, and it all settles down again, and the government debts are gone. And obviously people get stuffed over, but it's so much more complicated now, because it's not just the parasites who get screwed over now. It's everybody gets screwed over, and people's mortgages are tied to the banks, and you can't just go and farm anymore, because you can't farm without owing some money on a property, and if you don't owe the money on the property, they come and take your property, and then it just goes. They don't do anything with the farmland. It just goes back to pasture again, and it becomes worthless. So it's so, they've really got like all effective parasites. They tie up their hosts so that if you try and get rid of them, they'll take the host down with you. Yeah,
you try and get away in every country in the world in Beatty.
Yeah.
Which I'll turn to today. The Unshackled, we published a satire piece. Well, we've labelled it satire from.
You can't be accused of poorly labelled satire.
Yes.
It's like you tried to wrap this in several layers of paper, saying this is satire. You open another layer of wrapping paper. This is satire, just in case you missed it. I swear there are still people who are going to believe it, though, Tim. There's nothing you can do to stop people believing satire.
And it's from Blair Cottrell, Australia's most well-known patriot.
That's never going to be taken as satire that comes from Blair.
So I put this editor's note at the beginning. All of what is written below is satire, but with all satire written about the current political climate, it could come true at any moment. Did you know now that the Babylon Bee, because remember the Christian satire website, heaps of people believe their satire because it is so believable. They've actually launched a real news website now called Not the Bee. So it's crazy news, which is true. So it begins with this.
That's a sorry, please.
It begins with this disclaimer: our news site wants to track you using your IP address as retainable data to either sell or keep for our own purposes. Click agree if you're okay with this, but if you don't click, we'll still track you anyway. This is the cookie policy that a lot of websites have. It's just an annoying thing that pops up on news websites. It's like, yeah, I know I'm going to be watched regardless of whether I agree to it or not. Yeah, there's so many cookies when you go on every website now.
It's because they have to. But yeah, like you say, that paragraph just summed it up, whether you like it or not.
Usually you have to subscribe for $8 a month to read the shit we write, but this is one of those rare free articles, so you consider yourself lucky that you can read it for free, because yes, the paywalls on the mainstream media are getting taller.
Which is great, because it means less and less people are reading them.
Yep.
Victorian State Premier Daniel Andrews has ordered the destruction of all physical and online calendars by midnight on Monday. Victorians can expect to lose access to the traditional 12-month calendar and all existing records of dates and historical information predating the COVID outbreak. I have thought long and hard about this, and certain groups of people have assured me that it is the right thing to do. He probably doesn't know which certain groups, or he just thought it was a good
Belgians
idea.
again, isn't it? It's the Belgians.
Belgians.
You've just got to keep your eyes on the Belgians.
Yeah. This move comes after calls from Monash University professor and esteemed expert in public perception of reality, Jonah Bergstein, to highlight the significance of the coronavirus pandemic by minimizing and gradually eliminating the public memory and understanding of times before COVID-19 existed. Last month, both Google and Apple announced their intent to update their clock and calendar phone applications, as well as the internal clock in all Apple computers, laptops and phones and products to better reflect the new world and the danger COVID poses to public health. We don't want to alarm people, however, as uncomfortable it may be for some. Every effort must be made to ensure the highest possible COVID awareness among Western nations in the world, said Apple CEO Tim Cook. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is yet to comment on the unprecedented new calendar reset, but is expected by certain groups of people to offer his support at a press conference next Friday. The reset has attracted criticism from far-right extremists, including known neo-Nazis and conspiracy theorists who've likened Daniel Andrews to pre-COVID dictator Pol Pot and the reset to a world communist takeover. Donald Trump was asked for comment at last week's press conference at the White House. It's a big step, a crazy step being taken by crazy people who want to destroy our beautiful American history, said the US president, who was already referred to as the pre-COVID president of the United States by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a speech he issued last week, thanking the White House for an additional $3 trillion donation to Israel's international physiological warfare department. The COVID global reset scheme is expected to be rolled out globally across the Western world, with Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews so far being the only world leader to agree to implement the reset immediately. Angela Merkel of Germany and Justin Trudeau of Canada have been vigorously sought for comment by journalists, but unexpected to return from their holiday island until next weekend.
I'm just so stoked that our world is falling apart. America is tearing itself at the seams. We're destroying our economy, but at least we're seeing peace in the Middle East finally. It's like a dream come true. I'm prepared to really make the sacrifice because it's another way that I can really get rid of my generational guilt. More of that we see, the better.
Yeah, I mean. One thing about the destruction of the West is we do have to have the rise of Greater Israel, don't we?
Absolutely.
Isn't it interesting that the first 2 decades of the 21st century, it was all about the war on terror, this never-ending Islamic enemy, and as soon as this pandemic comes along, all these peace agreements are signed with Israel and the Arab countries, and it's like
it's because the leaders wake up to the fact that we are all human and we all have to live together, and we're all in this together. We're all in this together, and we need to love one another. It's love will change the world, you know. That's what it's about.
There's nothing like a virus that's so deadly that you have to take a test to find out if you've got it or not. Just to make people sort of reevaluate what's important in life.
It has a 99% recovery rate.
Yeah, that's it. And then they just go, what are we fighting over, really?
Though Daniel Andrews, he keeps warning us that even young, fit, healthy people, the long-term effects are not known, and it could cripple your internal organs for life.
Yeah, we were talking about that back in in March, and we were labelled conspiracy theorists. That was back when we thought that the coronavirus would wipe out a good fifth of the world's population. But look how that one turned out.
The amount of people that I've managed to not get banned arguing against, who brought up that point with me over the past few months, that it's not just about the deaths, it's this is a different disease, you get it and you might never recover from it, your organs might be damaged for life. Like pneumonia. Pneumonia, you're saying? It's just like pneumonia. So some people don't recover after pneumonia and are ill and have long-term illnesses forever and ever after pneumonia. Is that what you're saying to me? Oh, it is. Oh, and this is a new virus. You're saying this is a new thing?
It's a new coronavirus.
It's a new coronavirus. Because because every single coronavirus that ever existed prior to this one. You know all about every single coronavirus prior to this one that ever existed. The common cold that's been with humanity since humanity, before humanity became humanity. But this is a new one.
Even though we were down today to 12 new coronavirus cases in Victoria today, though the overall increase was 5 due to cases being reclassified, which basically means there's been another fuck up with either the Victorian Department of Health and Human Services testing or contact tracing. Remember, their contact tracing, they're still using fax and post-it notes. Apparently yesterday they accidentally deleted 11 cases from their database, which they had to re-add yesterday. Yeah, so that's the system.
Yeah, well, I guess if you look at the state of our bureaucracy, as I was pointing out, we've got geniuses working for ASIO or some intelligence organisation who have made the incredible connection that both the right wing here in Australia and ISIS recruit people over the internet. So, like, if that's where the best and brightest go, you wonder who ends up having to do all the contact tracing. Yeah.
Well, we've got the hotel quarantine judicial inquiry continuing this week, where finally the bigwigs have testified, the departmental heads, and
it's amazing. I can understand forgetting something that happened a few years ago. I forget. I'm getting a bit older now, so I forget stuff that happened 20, 30 years ago. But we're talking about something that happened a few months ago. And
Jobs Minister Martin Pakula, Health Minister Jenny Mikakos, and Police Minister Lisa Neville, they don't know who hired the private security contractors and who turned down the offer of Australian Defence Force personnel. Daniel Andrews.
People take minutes anymore, even.
Well, yeah, that's what you sort of wonder. There's no minutes or anything, or has there been some sort of... Remember how the Stasi, they shredded all the documents when the wall came down? You wonder just... If they can accidentally delete coronavirus cases accidentally.
Hey, look, if Hillary can delete 30,000 emails, I'm sure the bureaucracy can delete a few cases.
Don't forget they accidentally deleted the cell footage when Epstein committed suicide.
Yeah, I love the meme going around that it's a sad state of affairs when a beauty salon has got better security than Epstein's jail cell.
Yes. Now, that's referring to Nancy Pelosi. I refer to it as a citizen sting when she got an illegal haircut. Daniel Andrews and Martin Pakula, they've confessed to haircuts that said they were done by their wives, so it didn't breach the stage 4 lockdown.
They're making incredible sacrifices for us all, aren't they?
Yeah. Even though there's never, well, in Australia at least, a coronavirus case traced to a hairdresser's. So Daniel Andrews, he testifies at 2:15 p.m. Melbourne time tomorrow, and if you're familiar with how royal commissions or parliamentary inquiries or however work in Australia, there's so much amnesia that comes across the witnesses. They always say, I can't recall, not to my knowledge, not in my presence.
I think there needs to be a new law passed, is that whenever there are going to be a royal inquiry or whatever, big government inquiry into some fuck up or whatever that's happened, all the witnesses need to be lined up next to each other, like all in a row, like all 12 or 14 or 20 of them, however many witnesses they're going to call. And the first witness gets called forward and they start asking him a question. He says, I don't remember. And as soon as he says, I don't remember, somebody standing behind them with a gun blows their brains out. And then the next witness gets called forward. Now, do you remember anything? Well, I can't remember. Bang. And then the next one goes. Sooner or later, one of the fuckers is going to wake up and know that they need to remember something pretty sharpish.
Yeah.
It's called priorities. People.
Yeah. Priorities.
Yeah. I think the record for I can't recall's it was at the New South Wales ICAC, Independent Commission Against Corruption. Arthur Zinadinos, who was John Howard's chief of staff and was a Liberal senator until recently, when he was appointed.
At the very least, it should be instant dismissal from your job. If you cannot remember what's gone on and you're responsible for it, that in itself should be a sackable offence.
But you've got to hear the Zinadinos, he said I can't recall 80 times, but it's a doozy what he couldn't recall. So he was being asked about donations from this company, Australian Water Holdings, to the New South Wales Liberal Party. He was the chairman of Australian Water Holdings, and he was the treasurer of the New South Wales Liberal Party. So the chairman of the company that was giving donations to the New South Wales Liberal Party, he was the treasurer of.
And he can't recall whether any money changed hands. I can't recall. God. I mean, it just, I don't know about you guys, but every time I see one of these royal inquiries, I just go, why? Why? Why do we need to go through this rigmarole? Why can't you just go, there's the bastard responsible, arrest him, put him in jail, shoot him, torture him publicly, stick him in the stocks, tar him and feather him, running out of time. Why do we need to go through all of this bullshit? You're the one responsible. End of story. Bang. I don't care how it happened or what happened underneath you. You're the one responsible. Because that's what would happen in the days of kings, wouldn't it? In the days of kings, the king would call their advisor and say, what happened? And the advisor would go, well, off with his head. Yeah. Just off with his head. You're no good. Next advisor.
Yeah. It's something that's been pointed out for decades, well over a century. That's the nature of democracy. Is that both with the bureaucracy and with Parliament, people are able to avoid responsibility. If a decision has been made by Parliament, you're able to say, well, it's the majority of the parliamentarians who made this decision, so you can't hold me personally responsible. In bureaucracy, they just cover everything with layer over layer of silly rules, and then when they are held to account, as we know, they can't remember. So we've got a system that it promotes the kind of people who are banal and malevolent, and it encourages those types of people to it rather than the noble kind of people who are actually going to take responsibility. Democracy is evil. It's as Adam Piggott pointed out this week on XYZ.
Another tactic of Dan Andrews, and he's done 80 in a row daily press conferences, is when he's asked about Victoria Police's brutal enforcement of the lockdown. He's like, oh, you'll have to speak to Victoria Police about that. I just issue the orders, they enforce it. And the Victoria Police say, we're just following orders.
Orders, yeah.
And it's had quite a...
I believe the expression for that is called a circle jerk, yeah?
It's had a shocking effect recently. This 14-year-old autistic boy, William Wall, he went missing at 6:45 a.m. on Tuesday after saying he was going for a run. A search was launched for him, but volunteers were told to stay home to comply with coronavirus breaches.
Surely that counts as giving care.
Sorry,
surely that must count as giving care. If you're looking for an autistic boy who's missing,
that's
like whoever's made that decision is actually going completely against the spirit and letter of the rule that's actually being brought in. Because like looking for someone who's missing is giving care. That's one of the reasons why you're able to be
that's
longer
not how
and go further.
The Victoria Police interpreted it. Police
said then they're wrong. That's absolutely
the police
and it just brings home the point that until we have laws that hold people accountable for things like this, and no excuses. Like, you are the one who you are the one who was in charge. Did you give the order? No, somebody else gave. Who gave the order then? I can't quite recall. Well, you're in charge. You're supposed to know. Therefore, we're going to hold you accountable for manslaughter.
Yep.
And until we've got that in place, where criminal negligence causing death, at the very least, criminal negligence causing death, somebody needs to be charged.
But when you're the government, this is another thing that's in the Dan Andrews omnibus bill, that his government is attempting to exempt itself from its own industrial manslaughter laws in regard to COVID-19 deaths.
Wow.
Well, it's just carrying on from what's happening in WA with Mark McGowan, with the Clive Palmer issue, just on a bigger scale.
Yeah, and looks like WA taxpayers will be footing the bill for Mark McGowan to defend himself against Clive Palmer's defamation suit.
Well, I'm wondering now, because he's launched a defamation suit in return against Clive Palmer. So I don't actually know whether he's probably going to be using taxpayer funds to launch his own slander and libel suit against Clive Palmer as well.
Yeah, because apparently Clive called him some mean names as well.
Yeah. But I mean, it's this is the real sad state of affairs that we're in. Like, hardly anybody likes Clive Palmer, for good reason. He's not a Trump. He's a big fat slob. He just, he just hasn't got the charisma. He's definitely in it for himself for a lot of things. But at the end of the day, though Colin Barnett was acting like a bit of a dictator when he was in power in WA a few years back, he passed an arbitrary decision that went against the process that Clive Palmer was following, cost Clive Palmer a lot of money. Clive Palmer says, okay, well, you've cost me a lot of money. I'm going to basically sue for compensation. It looks like Clive Palmer is going to win that suit because Colin Barnett was obviously in the wrong, but now Mark McGowan's in power and he doesn't want to be the one who has to pay out. So he passes legislation that says, blanket ban, you can't do this to government anymore. Or not only that, if there's any criminal liability, you can't prosecute the government either, and you can't prosecute the bureaucrats involved. It's all retrospective. So we'll backdate this legislation to just before Clive Palmer launched his suit.
And this gets to the whole point of like we're told that with democracy we can hold government accountable.
But we can't.
Yeah.
They have the power to exempt themselves from responsibility. Now, Dan Andrews has said at his daily press conferences to all Victorians, obey the rules, which is why I was so shocked to learn that youth crime gangs have not been obeying the lockdown, because one of the Deputy Victoria Police Commissioners, Rick Nugent, has said that Victoria Police are going to target youth gangs as Victorian juvenile crime spikes. In the 12 months to the end of June, so this is before the second lockdown, there were 19,783 alleged offender incidents among 10 to 17-year-olds, up from 18,050 last year, with increases across all offence categories. Deputy Commissioner Rick Nugent, he got up last week and threatened Melburnians with $5,000 fines if they tried to go into regional Victoria. Admits Victoria is not winning the battle against youth crime. He said, we've seen an increase there, and this relates to some gang-related activity and sort of network group of youths doing this. They're into car theft.
A network.
Yeah.
That's a word that's a euphemism I haven't heard used yet. Yeah. I'm going to start using that a lot. Yeah. These networks. We've got to do something about these networks.
Yeah. Mr. Nugent said police have identified 42 youth gangs which they know are causing harm. They're into car thefts, aggravated burglaries and home invasions and robberies, the assaults. They're moving a lot more across the area now than they used to. Don't they know that it's selfish and stupid to engage in youth violent gang crime during the coronavirus pandemic?
I was just waiting for the positive spin on it. That they have been involved in car theft and home break-ins, but so far they haven't escalated things to social media posts yet.
Absolutely. From what I understand, it's actually mostly peaceful car break-ins as well.
Yeah, mostly peaceful car breakings, and they haven't engaged in anything nefarious like
and they've all worn
posting on
coverings.
Facebook. Yeah, they all wore face coverings, and they haven't posted about any protests on Facebook. So we've decided to give them a pass.
We may still have to do something about their toxic masculinity, but that's about it.
Yeah.
This is going to be right across the state. Rick Nugent said, actually mapping and understanding which groups, which gangs are causing harm, and doing everything possible to prevent
mapping. They better be careful about that mapping. Maybe keep that one from the public eye.
Overall, Victoria's offence rate was up by 6% in the year to the end of June compared to the previous period.
Well, I'm certainly more offended at Victoria this year than I was last year.
Why don't we? I thought because Victoria Police on their Facebook page, they do talk about how they're dealing with non-coronavirus crimes, what we would call just regular.
Haven't they gone the way of non-coronavirus deaths? We don't have them anymore, do we?
But this was put on the Victoria, or actually the Geelong iWatch page. So iWatch Geelong Police said, "Can you assist the investigation? We want to hear from you." On 9th of September, around about 7 a.m, the victim was walking along this avenue and noticed a male walking behind her. It's believed this male, as he walked through a walkway, when the victim got to the walkway, she cited the male, described as wearing a beige-coloured shorts and a dark top. The victim has then walked past the male and seen his pants were down and he was masturbating. The face fit below.
At least he was covering his mouth.
Face fit below is of a male we wish to speak to, as he will assist with these investigation. Any information that of his assistance could be directed to
Sounds like Joe Biden's visiting Australia.
But at least he was.
I'm loving these pictures, these images of guys who've got their mouth covered. That's amazing.
But at least he was publicly masturbating in a COVID-safe way.
That's right. Maybe he's been reading my the XYZ article about 12 ways to subvert the wearing of face masks. Basically, like one of the things that I suggested, well, a couple of them, like I was basically suggesting to do disgusting acts while you're wearing a face mask.
Oh, you can be careful to get done for incitement, Dave.
Oh no, I didn't say to do it in public or to everybody go out together. I just said, like, just drop your guts when you're in the supermarket aisle. Maybe he's just taking a little bit further.
Oh, it sounds like incitement to me, Dave. I think the police are going to be around tomorrow.
There was also a attempted carjacking in Horsham, which is
incitement to illegal flatulence.
This is in regional Victoria, which even though restrictions,
you can't have mass gassings,
even though restrictions have been relaxed in regional Victoria, the face covering mandate still applies, because Anne Andrews has said face coverings will be part of our immediate future for a long time. So this is the attempted carjacker in Horsham. Victoria Police have released a digital composite image after a woman was threatening him Horsham last week. So not only was he wearing a face covering, he was also wearing goggles.
That hasn't come up for me yet.
So, well...
It's the same guy. It must be the same guy.
So I wonder, because Daniel Andrews, he's showing through his dictatorial decrees with his coronavirus restrictions how so many of them are nonsensical. You can just see him, despite all of these criminals wearing face coverings, him not sort of saying, yeah, we may need to ditch them now as the curve is flat.
I think he'll be more likely to say that we all need to join Islam first, and so that he can make a decree that masks last forever. We all need to wear burqas from now on.
On this thing, like this again ties into what Adam Biggett was talking about, and I expanded on it this week as well. It's the thing about what's going on. Criminals don't challenge the actual system, and neither do Islamic terrorists. Like the government is happy for us to be terrorized by random criminals.
Because then we need them. Because then we need them more.
Yeah, but by African gangs, by Islamic terrorists, because but like when you have people en masse disobeying government decrees about everybody staying at home and not talking to each other and not organizing together, when you have people en masse opposing mass immigration, that challenges the system. So yeah, that's the irony that we're pointing out here. Like we're getting police images of guys with their faces covered. You're not going to be able to tell who that is, but they're not going to make the sensible decision because they want to keep us under control. Mass rebellion, mass questioning is far more dangerous to their power than a few random incidences of violence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've had a prison system for years, and the prison system is a source of government control and revenue and taxes that people are willing to pay for.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that whatever you need from the government will suddenly create more demand for.
Well, that's what they, in that article that I referenced as well, when they were talking about the need to expand the prison system, they said that they wanted to do that to meet future demand. That's literally word for word what they said.
And who will create that demand? They will.
Yeah.
Because it's
they've got all these extra silly rules.
You've got all these extra silly rules, yeah. and every government department wants to get bigger, and the only way that people can get a pay raise in a government department is if their department grows and they're responsible for more people.
Since the new metric which Dan decides whether he's going to relax the lockdown is the 14-day case average, which for Metro Melbourne has dipped below 30. So we've reached the threshold for going from what I call stage 3.9 to stage 3.8 on Monday. And he said, I may look at maybe relaxing a bit more. Oh, but don't expect too much. Don't get too excited.
Well, just remember that originally we were supposed to have 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yes, we were supposed to have a 6-week stage 3 lockdown at the beginning of July, then at the beginning of August, a 6-week stage 4 lockdown, and it's, nearly the end of September, and we're in stage 3.9. We've still got the curfew, but it's at 9 p.m. That's being challenged in the Supreme Court of Victoria. The Andrews government, they actually didn't want to release their public health information for the advice that they got to implement the curfew. They want to keep that a secret. They're saying it's not in the public interest for that to be disclosed.
Yeah, well, look, if they've locked away in the federal parliament for 99 years the 100 names of the top government people who were involved in paedophilia. So that, again, because it wasn't in the public interest for us to know which paedophiles have been in the top levels of government for the past 30 odd years. So obviously, if that's not in the public interest, then why on earth would we be finding out what Dan Andrews said about curfews?
Yeah, he claimed he doesn't know who recommended the curfew because it wasn't the chief health officer or Victoria Police.
Yeah. Again, we're back to this passing the buck situation and nobody being held accountable. So we're back to the stage where we basically need to get the chief of police, Dan Andrews, and the chief health officer, put them up against a wall and just simply shoot them.
That's very, you're warning Dave about incitement. That's very.
It's just a policy suggestion, yes.
Policy suggestion, yeah. I want it to be passed by Parliament. I don't want anyone to go and take it on themselves to do it. But Parliament needs to pass a law that basically said we need to execute these people.
We've got a super chat.
In fact, I'm standing for government, and that's my platform. Bring back.
Over on Entropy.
I want to pass a law making it legal to execute all of the state premiers, the chief of police in each state, and the chief of mental health officer. That's my policy.
I think a lot of people would vote for you, Steve.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've got a super chat here on Entropy. I keep putting the link in the chat, so please join us over there. You can also ask a question. Our poll at the moment, it's a tie between XYZ went down. It was either Boomer Tech Dave or Asio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's blaming Mossad. Come on, people.
Yeah. Senator Slayer sent through $3 Thank you, Senator Slayer. He did 2 lives this week, one on Tuesday night, one on Wednesday night, both with his mate Jared, who crossed into his sister city of Albury, which is in New South Wales. He lives in Wodonga in Victoria because he didn't have a permit, and he got into another beef with the border patrol this week when he was crossing from Wodonga to Albury because one of his son's permits had expired.
You need to have your papers, don't you?
Yes. It was very selfish and stupid of his son to let his permit expire. And all this wouldn't be needed if people didn't protest.
You know, one of my favourite movies when I was still a normie conservative was The Hunt for the Red October. I used to love Tom Clancy's material back when I was still a bit of a neocon. Towards the end of there are some good movies for their time. There's a near the hunt for the end of the Hunt for the Red October, the Russians are defecting to the United States, and one of the officers gets told, but you'll be free to travel wherever you want in America. And he's like, what? You don't have to show them your papers? No papers, you can just drive wherever you want. Yeah. Give it 30 years, 40 years, it's all changed, people.
Yeah. Probably because we let in too many communist refugees.
Just a little bit, and then we created them.
So Senator Slayer's super chat is, where's Anxious Aussie been? Did you ban her? Well, she's still around, but she hasn't got much traction lately on her videos.
Yes. Next.
We got anything more to talk about Victoria related, or shall we go over to?
Let's push on.
US? To the US now. Let's start with something light. We were talking about bioterrorism.
Something like that. You mean the Ruth Bader Ginsburg burning in hell for all eternity?
No, as some alleged woman sent ricin to President Trump.
Yeah.
It was a Canadian woman.
Woman, I don't know. She wasn't a woman. It wasn't a woman.
This is what
definitely was not a woman.
Can't assume her gender.
I will definitely not assume that gender. No. Yes.
Can we all just agree to call it an it?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
It had been watching too much Breaking Bad.
And she was Canadian. She's been criminally charged with mailing President Trump the deadly poison ricin, called him the ugly tyrant clown in a letter containing the chemical. So her name is Pascale Cecily Veronica Ferreira of Quebec. So she's a French Canadian, or they are a French Canadian.
You mean she's a Spanish Canadian? That's not a French name.
Well, Quebec is the French province.
Yes, I know, but she's not French and she's not Canadian.
Yeah. So she was apprehended at the U.S. border in Buffalo, New York. Ferreira told U.S. border authorities
Spanish Mexican
that
right.
She was wanted by the FBI for sending ricin letters to Trump. Basically, yeah. This is
imagine if she'd done it to Barack Obama.
Oh, there was a guy who was framed for sending ricin to President Obama. He was an Elvis impersonator, and yeah, so he was later released, and they caught the real guy, and like he did like the interview circuit, and he was like a real sort of what's eccentric, like he did this like female news reporter.
I didn't send President Rice.
Yeah, he was doing an Elvis impersonation in front of this like female reporter, and she like totally creeped out.
So you're saying Clown World was Clown World before Clown World, huh?
Yeah, maybe she's been falsely accused, or it's been falsely accused. Maybe.
Let me guess, she does impersonations of KD Lane
or Ros Ward. Hey, you know what because Lucas Roses, he has talked about Ros Ward's campaigning in the Victorian local government elections. I'll see if I can. I'll actually bring up the article now because.
That's a good segue.
Speaking of people we don't know who are men or women, there's been a lot of speculation about the true. He hasn't included it in the article here, but I'll just bring it up. Here's Ros Ward with the Conservative Catholic Victorian Education Minister James Merlino. There's Ros Ward assaulting a man wearing a Trump hat in 2016. There she is with Kath Larkin, the Victorian Socialist candidate for Melbourne Lord Mayor. But I haven't got the photo in front of me, but she's wearing a mask out campaigning now. She actually looks like Daniel Andrews in that mask, because Daniel Andrews, of course, wears that black mask. They both look the same in the mask.
Do we have another conspiracy theory? The same person.
Same person, wearing underpants on their face.
Anyway, that was quite the segue back.
Yeah. She's everybody's favourite, mostly peaceful protester in Victoria.
Yeah, but the big news of the week is that the 87-year-old Liberal Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg croaked. She'd been on death's door for many years, and so it was
since Trump was elected.
Yeah, and I know that the Democrats wanted to keep her alive as a cyborg. Unfortunately, transhumanist technology was not that advanced to
There's talking of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of conspiracy theories saying that she died quite a while ago, and that she's they've released the details of her death deliberately just before the election to go and cause some more chaos. One of the more out there conspiracy theories, but I'll mention it just because.
Well, there was a conspiracy theory about Stephen Hawking, about how he actually died 20 years before he died, and then they had an actor impersonating him so that they could push all this sort of weird sort of agenda with it. So,
well, the thing with Stephen Hawking is that there was absolutely no way to tell who was programming his computer voice. I mean, all you saw of Stephen Hawking was. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
He didn't do anything like that for 10 years. So, especially when it came down to the end, when he started really, I mean, all of his theories were kind of out there anyway, and really sort of in the sort of realm of fantasy science and speculation science. But the last few years of his life, the stuff that he was supposedly coming out with about global warming and stuff. It did not sound like a Nobel Prize winning physicist at all. Whether they didn't have to, you don't need a conspiracy of him dying years before, because it's not too much of a stretch to say, well, he lost the power of actually you doing anything with that computer, and that Twitch was nothing more than a Twitch, and he really couldn't make full sentences with it. And so they just rolled him out, kept him alive, put him on the drip, and then they have the computer voice talking and saying whatever they want.
That's entirely possible. The last decade of his life could have basically been like being John Malkovich.
One of the last things I did on Facebook before I got banned actually was put up a Stephen Hawking cake thing, you know, with the frog. Pepe Le Hawking.
Could Prince Harry be replaced by that double from that reality show Want to Marry Harry, given that he's gone from being a Chad to a cuck? And he appeared in that video with Meghan Markle urging them to vote against Trump, to stand up against hate speech and other forms of misinformation and bigotry. Or he could have just had his balls chopped off by her.
Oh well, I'm waiting for the news that he's going to transition. Is the next thing.
All I can think about is a British royal, essentially, abdicating his role to a thanks to a North American strumpet. History has a way of rhyming. That's all I've got to say.
But I mean, God help us when Elizabeth goes. I mean, whatever evil she may have done in her life, in the things. But God help us when Prince Charles becomes king. Really, we you know, the stuff that he's coming out with recently. You know, talking about COVID is nothing. You wait for climate change. Blah 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 blah. And we need to all the things that we've been panicking about over COVID. It's only a fraction of what we need to do about climate change. Oh God, shut up, die already.
You can genuinely see Harry and Meghan coming back to the United Kingdom if he becomes king, like they'll fit right in.
Yeah, and William, Harry's older brother and second in line to the throne, he's also pretty woke as well.
All I know is that somewhere, I believe still in France, there is a descendant of the Stuarts still around. And look, if ever there was a time for a new Scottish rebellion, a new Bonnie Prince Charlie, now is the time. Put the rightful king back on the throne.
There's definitely not.
I am in favour of monarchy, but it's got to be the right monarch.
There's definitely not going to be a Scottish rebellion since Nicola Sturgeon has implemented the lockdown in full already with the house arrest in Scotland.
I don't know what's happened to Scotland. I mean, talk about a country that has itself completely and utterly cucked. I mean, is this the land of William Wallace, or not? It's just I weep for Scotland. I weep for my ancestors. You know, had my great grandfather not been disowned for drinking the profits of Drambuie, I would stand for royalty myself.
All right, so let's go back to the now deceased Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because the Republicans control the Senate and the presidency for the rest of the year, and so they've got the power, or President Trump can put forward a nominee, and the Republican Senate can confirm them. They've got the numbers to confirm whoever Trump picks, because even Mitt Romney said he'd confirm Trump's nominee. But the two Rhino senators, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, they're going to vote against. But,
women belong in the home. That's all I've got to say.
But with Romney's vote, it gives the Republicans 51 out of the 100 votes for confirmation. So Mitt Romney finally has done something good, squatting in that Utah Senate seat.
I don't trust the little worm for a second.
Yeah, but Trump's going to put a woman up.
Yes, and the favourite is Amy Coney Barrett, who's an appeals court justice who was nominated by Trump and confirmed in 2017. And apparently she's a very wicked woman, because she's a Catholic with 7 children.
You know, he's probably put her up because it's going to be very hard to make a sexual allegation fiasco circus about her over the next month or so. That's probably his strategy.
But they'll still try.
When she was confirmed for the appeals court, she was grilled by that other old liberal hag, Senator Dianne Feinstein, saying, your Catholic dogma is very, conservative. We don't trust you. Basically, I'm paraphrasing there. Yeah, there's still other old.
Well, I mean, the Democrats are going absolutely, especially the far left feminists are going absolutely spare at the moment, thinking that Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned.
If only.
Wouldn't it be beautiful?
It would be beautiful if it was, but especially after California, you can now kill your baby just after it's born now, pretty much. So
well, and as we explored last week, you can sodomize minors with lesser punishment.
Yes, and you can also not be registered as a sex offender if there is less than 10 years difference between you for a child of 11 to. So a 21-year-old can have sex with an 11-year-old, but as long as it's consensual.
Oh no, it has to be 14 and above. So a 24-year-old can have sex with a 14-year-old.
No, that's the sodomy side of things. But I think it was originally they were pushing for 10 years, and the 11 was the age, I believe. So yeah, it was that was going around was that people could literally be having sex with 11-year-olds and not being as adults and not being sent to jail and not being registered as a sex offender.
And it was by that state California Senator Scott Wiener who put it through.
Don't you think that anybody called Wiener should just be, not allowed, not allowed to have any legislation to do with children at all? Your name's Wiener. Sorry, you're disqualified.
Yes.
Tim, if
progressives are about to burn down the country if Trump's nominee gets confirmed. What? You haven't already been doing that? We're going to double burn it.
Well, yes. All the areas that haven't been destroyed by global warming and the forest fires, we're gonna burn them down, and it won't be climate change this time. It'll be us, honest, not. Funny how all the climate change fires on the western side of the United States stopped at Canada.
Yeah, and at Mexico too.
Yeah, and Mexico, yeah. And just funny how many arsonists were arrested exactly where climate change was happening.
Yeah, it's nothing like it's don't. You guys go.
So we've got the first debate happening next week, Wednesday, September the 30th, which it'll be on Thursday, Australian time. So
is it actually going to be Trump versus Biden?
Yeah, and it's going to be moderated by Fox News host Chris Wallace, and he's released the topics, which is going to be the Supreme Court nomination, the pandemic, the economy, and the protest and violence. And
so they're not going to actually touch on immigration, the most important thing affecting the US.
Of course not.
Yeah,
because Trump loves legal immigration, just like Democrats do.
Exactly. We're going to talk about the most important subject that's actually happened this week in terms of international relations, and that's the fact that Russia has actually claimed Venus as a Russian planet, because they claimed that they were actually the first, because they were the first I'm actually going to come out with a very serious article on the XYZ explaining why this is why we actually need to have a Death Star to stop this sort of thing from happening.
Venus. Wow,
even RT today was talking about Dictator Dan.
Projection.
It would be funny if Putin directly made a statement decrying Dictator Dan Andrews.
Yeah. How much more do we have to go?
Do you want to wrap it up now?
How are we looking? Yeah, I reckon we're just about done.
Yeah. yeah, we'll call it a night. Thank you everyone for watching, and thanks for Senator Slayer for the super chat. Our channel subscribers keep ticking up. We're nearly at 900 now. Normally, we'd be excited to get to 1,000 subscribers, but we probably know this channel's not going to be monetized because, well, the Unshackled channel is no longer monetized, which it was for over a year and a half because we got a strike for an 18-month-old interview that Richard Walsacroft did with Fraser Anning, and YouTube deleted it just coincidentally.
Must have been all the Sig Heiling, huh?
Yeah, when the Christchurch killer Brenton Tarrant was being sentenced. Just happened that way.
Sorry, let me just ruin your financial prospects for the next year.
We did get a strike with the last person to do that on this channel.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually impersonating Lord of the Rings. I'm showing you that scene where they're going down the raft and the two kings are there.
Yeah, that's right. There's two of them.
Yeah, doing the Nazi salute.
Yeah. Oh, you're just doing John Cleese, Basil Fawlty.
Oh, well, that's been banned now too, hasn't it?
Oh no, they brought it back. I think
they bring it back after, because John Cleese is a good old lefty himself.
He's actually not.
He is. He is.
He's a lefty where the left left him.
Yeah. He's a lefty who's been ostracized by the left, is what he is. Yeah. And he's now feeling very, very sad that all his lefty ideas have gone way beyond anything he ever thought, and all the things that he was ever satirizing have actually become true now. And yeah.
So he was the original.
He's the sort I like to refer to as a Menshevik.
Yeah.
You know, like he's been purged.
Yeah.
All right, so what's going to be the prediction for tomorrow's case numbers and how many times Dan Andrews will say various incarnations of I can't recall or I know nothing?
In response to your first question, as many as they deem necessary.
666 times.
Yes.
Yeah, it's best not to turn it into a drinking game because that'll probably kill you. But if you do die from alcohol poisoning watching Dan Andrews's testimony, nobody will care because it won't be COVID.
I'd say it'd probably be labelled a COVID death.
yeah, because
genuinely call it that. Yes.
Yeah, and I wonder what restrictions Dan will lift on Sunday. Maybe the curfew will be at 10 p.m. and maybe it'll be a 10-kilometre radius outside
Don't push your
home.
luck. 9:30 to 9:30.
Or maybe 3 hours of exercise or social interaction.
No, the curfew will remain the same, but you're allowed to start reading till 9:30.
Oh yeah, that actually had to be fact checked. That satire article.
Yeah.
This is the.
It's probably getting even more stupid in the UK now because they've got all these exemptions in the UK which they don't have in Victoria. So, 6 children can't go and feed the ducks, but 30 hunters can go and shoot the ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the corona laws for you. Nonsensical. And thank you, all of us, all of you, our audience, for tuning in again. And we'll be back this time next week. We're not allowed to stay free because that's incitement. We can only just say stay sane. Or is that also incitement? Because Dan wants us to be miserable. So asking people to stay sane or stay happy.
Just remember to wear your mask to bed, people. Wear your mask to bed. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. And make sure what everything you do is COVID safe. All right, good night, everybody.
Cheers.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
The Uncuckables.
I think when you